throw one out like someone swung the stall door open at a public restroom and your response was America.
We're entering our flop era.
Shit's bleak out here. All right.
18 plus, who wants to get milked?
It's kind of quality we have here at Debate This.
I need the edge. I need what the raw, unfiltered internet can bring you.
This is probably only going to be the third or fourth dumbest thing I've said today.
That's for nobody.
Just out there raw dogging the internet.
Way more hog than I expected.
It's about as much hog as I anticipated.
This is going to be one of those episodes, isn't it?
Here comes the cow. Here comes the cow.
All right, let's get this over with so we can play Magic.
Hello, and welcome to Debate This, the show where no one is right, but someone is definitely wrong. In this show, we take time out of our busy adult lives to talk about comic books, video games, and how my wife doesn't know what Corey Steelcutter is, and how jealous I am of that for her.
That's really good. That's really funny.
Fun joke.
I own Corey Steelcutter, and I don't play Standard. And today was a normal Monday for me.
Banned today. It was banned today in Standard as we record this. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that's a Magic card.
Listen to our episode where I talked about Magic the Gathering Arena for too long.
Yeah, go back and find that episode. We won't tell you where it is.
I couldn't remember if you put a gun to my head. Matt will probably tell us at the end of the episode, though.
That's the secret. It's all of the episodes.
It's a Magic card that's been in like 60% of decks since it's been released and dominating everything in Magic, and they finally banned it and 5 other cards today, and everyone has opinions on it, and that's all we need to talk about that for now.
Yeah.
Listeners, I'm going to wax poetic a little bit, so bear with me. Between the new season of The Bear, our recent trip to Atlanta, and the successful mayoral primary of Zohran Mamdani, I have been reminded how much I love cities.
I love how these things are what triggered your love for cities. That's so lovely and wholesome.
I needed examples, and I needed a rule of 3s.
No, it's great.
That's how we got there.
Yeah.
So, speaking to the New York City mayoral primary, I saw it. This is a long walk to how we got to this episode topic today.
Sure.
So stick with me. I saw an exchange online where someone asked how we can find so much enthusiasm for a mayoral primary as our national democratic institutions seemingly crumble around us. And someone responded with the very wholesome thought that nations are a collection of legal agreements and come and go, but cities are the people and buildings and streets and everything involved in them and tend to stand the test of time a bit better.
I like that a lot.
New York was a city before the United States was a country and will exist after it falls. And to drive the point home, this poster added, I am posting this from Athens, a city settled thousands of years before Greece became a nation in the 1820s.
That has so much wisdom in it.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like timeless wisdom.
I thought that you were going to say that to prove the point, you could be listening to this podcast after the United States falls in New York City. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Not impossible, Matt. And would also
Today's
be
a different
point,
energy, I guess.
But yeah, that's not the vibe we're chasing today. So yeah, I really liked that. That spoke to me, and I dwelled on it for a little bit and came up with this episode prompt today. There's something very comforting about these collections of people that impress these locations with a personality of their own. And I wanted to celebrate those cities before the great gentrification turns anywhere smaller than Chicago into 5 breweries and a financial district in a trench coat. And we're going to do that the same way that Stan Lee and Steve Ditko did in 1962 by giving 3 of them their very own superhero. That is the long walk to our topic today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love thinking of Steve Ditko and Stan Lee as like tourism agents for cities. Like, we don't see enough folks over there in DC. So what if we stuck a couple of superheroes there in a book? I think that's fun. I like that.
I mean, that's famously why we got the West Coast Avengers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think so. Yeah. It's all
Is that why we got the West Coast?
I'm pretty sure that's what I read in the wiki. Yep.
Yeah,
Pretty sure they threw Hawkeye a bone and they're like, here you go, Hawkeye. You get an Avengers.
you get an Avengers. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. There's no greater pretense, no execs, no national emergencies, no DT exclamation point legal team, just Matt Star City Cole, Andrew Central City Henderson, and Todd Coast City Thomas pitching me their ideas for cities that need a streetwise Hercules to fight the rising odds, and what those heroes may look like.
Streetwise Hercules is my favorite Mega Man boss.
That's pretty good.
That's good.
Oh, okay, so let me guess. So I know Central City is Dragon Ball. Is this just fake cities with
Star City's DC.
They're all
Different-
DC.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah,
just,
I was gonna say.
and
Gotcha.
specifically they're DC's like cities that are pastiches.
Well, Akira
of-
Toriyama has a bone to pick with the entirety of DC, I guess.
Yeah. So Star City is DC's like Seattle pastiche, apparently.
Sure.
Central City is like a vague Midwest city.
Kansas City.
Anytown, USA.
Readers have kind of pinned down to be like Kansas City and maybe Chicago if they feel like
Anything
it.
it's west of the Mississippi.
Yeah. And Coast City is the Bay Area, roughly.
Yeah, sure.
In quotations, the Bay Area. Which Bay? Yes.
Yes.
It's
that one.
San Francisco without the Golden Gate Bridge.
But with a weird like kind of volcano lair. There's a volcano lair in
That's
Coast
neat.
City.
Have you
San
been to
Francisco
San
doesn't have
Francisco
that.
lately?
Yeah, right.
I have great news for you, or terrible news, depending on your reaction.
Depending on how you feel about volcano layers.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm pro volcano lair.
I mean, how could you not be?
Really
Yeah,
comes
exactly.
down to who owns the volcano layer.
I was gonna say what Matt said. It's truly the eye of the beholder of the volcano layer.
Fair enough. So, guys, tell me what city we are grounding this hero in and why it's a good city to make the setting of a hero comic. And then tell me who this hero is to protect that city. And we will start with Matt.
Yeah, Kyle. Back in the year 2009, a YouTube channel called Bishop Vids made a quick promotional video for the city of Cleveland, Ohio. And in that video, Bishop Vids dared to say, "We're not Detroit." Well, strap in, losers, because today we are Detroit. Today we're doing Detroit.
Excellent.
Yeah, Detroit. I am so excited.
I love that.
Go ahead.
I love that there's so few media about Detroit that the media that you referenced about Detroit is about Cleveland.
It's actually about Cleveland.
It's true. Yeah, honestly, that's kind of the best recent cultural reference to Detroit that doesn't immediately make you sad because it makes you laugh a little bit. Anyway, let's talk about Detroit.
Fair.
We're going to have a great time bringing people to Detroit because we're a tourism thing now. And what we're doing is introducing a superhero from Motor City. In fact, a superhero named Mr. Motor City, or in modern era, because we are going to meet two versions of this superhero today, Mr. Motown. Mr. Motown,
Okay.
the hero of Motor City, is here to truly revitalize and do for Detroit what like 6 to 10 corrupt mayors have said they were going to do for 100 years.
I like Mr. Motown. That
I
really
like
is.
Mr. Motown too. I like Detroit as the topic for this question. So I'm excited to see where we go.
Do you want me? I didn't really give you much about why it's a good city. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you a little more. Detroit is like Gotham, but it actually has a day-night cycle. Like the sun rises. Other than that, it's kind of a lot like Gotham. The thing with Detroit is that it was once the greatest city in America, and then it burned down to the ground. And then they rebuilt it, and it was still the greatest city in America, so much so that people called it the Paris of the West. And then it put
crazy.
all of its eggs in one basket, that basket being cars. And you know what? That worked for a while. And now it's kind of like Gotham, but the sun rises, and that sounds to me like it is the perfect home of somebody who loves where they're from, was molded by its history, and is here to defend its people. One more time, everybody give it up for Mr. Motor City, Mr. Motown.
Like a phoenix rose from the ashes, and then as it got older was replaced with a younger model from overseas.
Yeah, man, I read a lot about Detroit today, and Detroit has a colorful history. I'm sure we'll talk about it more.
I'm sure we will.
I mean, look, out of the bit, I love Detroit. I think it's
also
like
love Detroit. Yeah,
it's a
fuck
great
Detroit.
time. Every time I'm there, I have a great time. So like, Detroit, we love you.
Yeah.
What's up? Call me later.
I was going to say that's their motto, but it doesn't really work. It's everyone else's motto.
Yeah.
It's Detroit. We love you.
We love you.
We love
Call
you.
me later.
Call me later.
Fantastic, Matt. Detroit is exactly like one of the cities I had in mind when I came up with this prompt. So I'm very excited to see what we get for Mr. Motown. But for now, let's move on to Andrew. Andrew, what city are we going to, and what hero do you have for us?
So Kyle, after much intense research that includes interviews, user feedback, and years of watching superhero films and other action movies, I've concluded one thing. I've concluded two things. One, San Francisco, California has a secret volcano lair. But two, San Francisco, California has not gotten nearly enough visibility in media, especially in recent years. And it's time somebody finally threw SF a bone. Now, obviously, that's a little hyperbolic, but interestingly enough, despite the fact that the Golden Gate Bridge alone has been destroyed 14 times, 14 times in 14 different movies, the Golden Gate Bridge has been destroyed in a movie as a scene.
I thought you meant in real life. I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
that's
I
crazy.
also
that
wondered-
they've rebuilt that bridge
Much
so
like
many
Detroit,
times.
it was set on fire 14 times.
By 6 to 10 different mayors. Yeah.
The city of San Francisco was also set on fire and rose from the ashes, but instead of ashes, it was more of like the trash pile that it is built on. So again, like joking aside, right? Like San Francisco's in movies all the time to the point where it's like, oh my God, eye roll. But I feel like movies don't usually capture the essence of San Francisco like they do at other cities, right? Like when New York's in a movie, New York is the character, right? Like that's kind of the joke. But like you said earlier, Coastal City may as well be the representation of San Francisco in most movies. It's Coastal City, USA. You might see like the Transamerica building, you might see the wharf, you might see, like the
if you're lucky, a trolley dings as it
you might see a
rolls
trolley
on by. Yeah.
like in the room to establish where we are.
Yeah.
But basically like this is a very and I'm gonna throw you with a very honest opinion. The one movie I feel actually captures the feel of the city of San Francisco is 2018's Venom starring Tom Hardy.
Oh, wow. Venom mentioned.
Venom jump scare.
Venom mentioned.
Who's also, I think, been part of the West Coast Avengers.
That sucks. So one of the very few things that 2018's Venom starring Tom Hardy did right was show SF as a living, breathing city, complete with all of the ugliness and the real quirks of a modern U.S. city, not as the like stark white liberal coastal utopia that it often gets depicted as. It's got its own problems. It's got its own microculture, just like anything else. Now, we won't talk so much about the people right now, but I want to talk about some of those actual like nature related quirks. And that is all a part of where the Bay Area sits in relation to the Pacific Ocean. Because like the city, if you look at a map, it's basically a peninsula, right? Like it is fully covered. San Francisco is 3/4 covered by water.
Yeah.
Because of that, the weather is
Doesn't that mean
perpetually
that
68
everybody
degrees.
rolls with disadvantage. That's it. 3/4 covered.
Yes, that's correct. Everybody rolls with disadvantage, and the weather is perpetually 68 degrees all year round. It's the best. It's the best temperature all of the time. It gets cold at night in all across the West, and the Pacific Ocean is much more colder than the Atlantic Ocean. So every morning is met with a pretty intense, like heavy blanket of fog over the entire city that burns off by like 10 or 11. So with that introduction, I'm just going to blind cold open to our superhero introduction. So fade in. We see a shadowy outline of a man watching the city below, perched on top of the Transamerica building. The sun is peeking over the horizon behind a hazy orange sky. I gotta get my raspy voice. I am protection. I am vigilance. I am the early morning hours. You know, like when the sun is rising, but not quite visible yet. It's not exactly dawn, but not exactly daybreak either. I am the fog.
Great.
I am hacking up a lung after doing that. Please hold.
Oh, I'm not going to edit it out.
Oh, yeah,
It's
leave
staying in
this.
there.
The Fog is a great like pulp era superhero
Thank
name
you.
too.
Thank you. I
Love that.
This was one where I thought of the fog. How do I make it work?
Work backwards from that.
Yep. Yeah, San Francisco featuring the fog.
San Frantastic? Is that anything?
Dude,
That's
that
not
was
nothing.
fun.
Great. Another great city to talk about. Good location. Lots of great like natural distinctive features to play off of.
Specifically, a secret volcano lair.
Specifically, secret volcano lair and a bridge that has been destroyed and rebuilt at least 20 times. Todd, clearly you're going to continue the trend and name a third great American city for us to,
Oh, I
to
can't
talk about
wait.
today.
I don't know if I don't think I'm doing a bit. I could be doing a bit. I don't think I'm doing a bit. So for too long, we've looked down on our southeasternmost state. So too often you hear people out there saying, oh, Florida is where dreams go to die. And
Oh, so you're doing a bet.
Florida is where animals and people are equally trying to kill you. Or, oh, Florida would be the perfect setting for a future Fallout game because let's be honest, how much would it actually change if it were hit by an unfathomable amount of nuclear radiation?
The penis of America, yes.
The penis of America. To all that and more, I say, come on, everyone. Florida'd be cool. Florida could be cool. So more specifically, the city of Tampa. So Tampa is one of the 3.5 cool cities to visit in Florida, and it's going to be the setting of our new favorite hero. Now, you're probably wondering, what are the 3.5 cool cities? I see it in your faces.
Yep.
Tampa, Miami, Orlando, and sometimes Pensacola, kind of.
I need so much backup citation for that.
Yeah, the first three is self-explanatory. Tampa's cool, Miami's cool, Orlando's cool. Pensacola, some parts are cool. It's fine.
I don't know
It's
that
there.
you just get away with calling those places cool.
Yeah, Orlando is one big highway filled with chains. It's basically that town in Pennsylvania, but bigger.
I would disagree that Orlando is actually pretty cool. Source me. Orlando's cool.
Source, trust me, bro.
All right.
Yeah. The one I can't stand behind
wildly
is
corrected.
Pensacola is tougher to defend. That's not the point. Tampa is this place that gives you that big city feel while also being this cool coastal city on the correct side of the state. You're getting like bay side, not ocean side. So the water's nicer. Tampa is a place that's filled with this amazing Caribbean culture. Tampa's a
You're
place.
right on the Gulf of America, yeah.
I didn't have it a single place in
You
my
said
notes.
we weren't going to do this, Kyle. You promised.
I don't
we
think
made you
I did.
swear off air. Tampa's also a place that has public transit, breweries, and a festival that is basically just a parade of drunk people dressed up as pirates. Gasparilla is a cool thing that Tampa does. It is also the setting of our best new speedster hero, a hero that I have named Captain Lightning. Now, I get that that's not a name to write home about, he says, but like, it's named after the frequency of lightning strikes that Tampa does get. So Tampa
Not
is
the ice
referred
hockey
to.
team.
Well, Matt pushes up glasses. They also get their name from the
lightning?
same occurrence, lightning, because Tampa is referred to as the lightning capital of North America because of the frequency of lightning strikes.
That's amazing. I always thought that lightning was named after the Tampa Bay Lightning.
the weather phenomenon is named after the hockey team.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's probably it. But that is thus the inspiration of our new hero, a hero named Captain Lightning. Tampa is cool, and I'll be in this essay. I will.
The only thing, I just have to say this out loud, no matter what Todd's answer is. The only cool thing about Tampa is that it's on the Gulf of Mexico, a real place called the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
Not
I
some
want to be very
bullshit made
clear.
up place called Gulf of America.
I want to be
hope-
very clear. It is the Gulf. It will always be referred to as the Gulf of Mexico.
I hope that Matt bleeps out Kyle saying Gulf of America or cuts in Kyle saying Gulf of Mexico earlier.
Yeah, I just needed all of you. I needed to watch all of your skin crawl over this Zoom. this Zoom
Just
call,
for
so.
legal reasons, let's get a couple clean takes of just saying America in case we have to splice later.
Oh yeah,
I know, I don't want that.
You want to get a couple, Kyle?
America,
Perfect.
Ooh,
America,
with your chest. Say it with your chest.
America.
Ooh, I like that last one.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a keeper.
All right.
Throw one out like someone swung the stall door open at a public restroom and your response was America.
America.
Wow.
Fully immersed.
Thank you. All right, moving ahead. Everyone, tell me the origin of your hero, who they are behind the mask, why they were called to action, what are their powers or perceived powers if they're a Batman type, and how the city has shaped your hero and how they kind of are the avatar of the city. And like the example I have here is like Spider-Man, the kid from Queens, and his webbing is uniquely useful for traversing the city, the streets and high rises of New York. I believe there's an interview where Stanley talks about how they kind of worked back from him imagining swinging around the buildings of New York to get to Spider-Man. But I also have like Daredevil is in the same city. Granted, it's only like 6 blocks of that city that he protects, but he's better suited to brawling in the tight streets and dark alleyways of Hell's Kitchen. And then the third example I have here is the Hulk perfectly captures the rage and radioactive effects that dwell in the heart of everyone from Dayton, Ohio. Because yes, Bruce Banner is canonically from Dayton, Ohio.
Holy shit.
I learned
Yeah.
that right now
Yeah.
in this moment. Is that real?
Oh no, we knew this. We've talked about this.
Really?
Yeah, we've
That's
talked about
crazy.
this.
I don't know that I've.
I can't
don't
think
know
of
that
a
I knew
single
that.
time that Todd's wife has disclaimed that Bruce Banner's from Dayton, and that's where I learned all of my Dayton facts.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know if I've talked to my wife about it though, which is now a funny thing to think about, that my two favorite things, my wife and comic books, haven't collided
overlapped
together.
in that way.
Yeah. PSA: everyone,
Yeah.
go talk to your wives about the Hulk being from Dayton.
Yeah, go.
Save it for your next road trip to Dayton. You have a good car conversation about
Everyone go look up your romantic partner's hometown and then search the internet to see what hero is from there, and boom, conversation piece.
it. Bam. Yeah, Matt. So tell me about the origin of Mr. Motor City or Mr. Motown.
Yeah, you got it. You remember those names because they're way better than Captain Lightning or whatever Todd said. Anyway,
Hey,
Detroit is famous for 3 things. This is a joke. Detroit is famous for a lot more than 3 things. Detroit is famous for 3 things: automotive manufacturing, soulful music, and labor relations. And our hero was molded by all 3. Now, for those who don't know, and I would not be surprised if it's most, because I learned a lot about Detroit researching for this episode today, but most of the biggest movements in labor relations started from the Ford Motor Company and the founding of the UAW, the United Auto Workers. There's not a word at the end of that. I set it up like there's a 4th word, and there's not. Anyway, another important moment in Detroit history. His name is Jimmy Hoffa. Look, there's a lot of labor relations stuff in Detroit, but like most things in Detroit, labor relations affected the populace of Detroit in dramatically different ways based on race. Initially, Detroit was a safe harbor for a lot of Black Americans and newly freed slaves. It was one of the last stops on the Underground Railroad. It was also a place where Black Americans were able to find high-paying work as automotive workers. But as labor unions picked up, we're a pro-union podcast, as good as unions are, they started to get pretty racist because that's kind of what all the white people were doing at the time. So what we have is a story kind of like the way The Watchmen is set up. We have an old gentleman by the name of Frank Ford. No relation to Henry Ford, but certainly of the Detroit Fords. Frank Ford was Mr. Motor City all the way back in 1958. And he was the protector of Detroit for years and years until he retired, as all do. Eventually you get old. And part of his retirement
them knees ain't what they used to be.
Them knees ain't what they used to be. And the problem
Can't go jumping off building with them knees.
is that much like Detroit, Mr. Motor City was affected by the plateauing of the automotive industry. Detroit put all of its eggs in the car's basket, and eventually everybody kind of had one. Not only that, it was cheaper to manufacture automotive parts outside of Detroit because you could avoid the high wage requirements of the initially stated labor unions. Now, Mr. Motor City was an important person, an important figurehead in uniting workers and labor unions with the larger industries, keeping people together, making sure that things continued to happen in Detroit. But as the industry plateaued, a lot of the sponsors that were bankrolling Mr. Motor City, because superheroes need a bankroll, it's not talked about enough in comics. Superheroes need an infinite amount of money behind them to do what they do in comic books. And when the automotive industry plateaued, all of Mr. Motor City's sponsors left, and he decided to retire. Years went on, generations passed, and Detroit fell the way that Detroit has over the last 50 or 60 years of America. Now, in the year of our comic book, 2025, we are introducing Coleman Ford, the grandson of Frank Ford.
That's a name.
Wow.
No relation to Henry Ford, but certainly of the Detroit Fords. Coleman Ford.
You can't say not related to Henry Ford, but of the Detroit Fords.
Yeah, you can't.
Those
You
are
can't say that.
contradictory
Yeah.
statements.
Honestly,
Yeah, like at some
Absolutely
point,
nothing.
18 brothers named Ford came across the ocean, and there's a Ford at the top of that tree.
yeah, honestly, it's kind of just a dumb joke from like, I read a lot of Wikipedia pages about famous people with the last name Ford from Detroit that all kind of said like, no relation to Henry Ford. So there's just like in my hometown, there's like 17 families with the last name Gallagher, and they all spell it a little bit different. Ford is a Detroit
this is
last
like
name.
FJOURD.
Yeah, Fjords.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Frank Ford. Anyway, so Coleman Ford, a young black man in Detroit where his family has lived for generations. And as his family has watched Detroit rise and fall, so has Coleman watched his family rise and fall by their relationship with their local union, their employment at the automotive factory, his employment at the same factory that his father and grandfather both worked at. And now an old villain from the past, who we're definitely going to talk about in another question, is coming up again and trying to raise Detroit to the ground another time. And Coleman Ford, under the tutelage of his grandfather, the original Mr. Motor City, dons the mask to become Mr. Motown and use all of his grandfather's sick mid-century vehicle-based tech to roll around Detroit and beat evil.
Okay.
Do you know how some names just sound like muscles?
Coleman?
Coleman Ford. Just like a name just sounds like muscles. I like it.
Yeah, Coleman Ford, named first name after one of the more controversial, but maybe not the worst controversial corrupt mayors in Detroit's history.
That's different.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I know a lot about Detroit now.
Did you fall out all over Detroit lore today, man?
Yeah, I sort of did. Also, a Detroit in Fallout would go super hard. I'd be into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's
Matt,
the other thing. Wait, hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
I've got a character. He is a young man from Detroit, and everybody's going to say he's just a city boy. He's born and raised in South Detroit. That's bullshit. There is no South Detroit. What's south of Detroit is Canada. Detroit is the only U.S. city north of Canada, and if you go due south of Detroit, it's Canada. There is no South Detroit.
There has to be a southern part of Detroit.
Well, yeah, certainly.
That's just how geography works.
South. Well, Detroit itself goes up to the
It's not like South
line.
Philadelphia that is like called a thing.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Todd's having a real hard time with Detroit.
No, I had to Google it to get it. It was one of those like, you know, a father takes his son to the hospital. I can't operate on this child. It's my son. It's his mother. Like it just took me a second.
Gotcha. Cool. And then just for the record, Matt, I think you said it, but I want to be clear. You said he has like car-based tech, so it's like a more car-focused Batman.
Bit by a radioactive car.
Yeah, Bit by a Radioactive Car is really, really good, honestly.
That's the plot of a Stephen King movie, I think.
The whole thing with Mr. Motor City is he can be anywhere because he's always got a vehicle to get there. Detroit is known for having the first freeway system in America, the first paved highway in America. The whole bit is that if you've got a car, you can get anywhere in Detroit. And that was Mr. Motor City's thing. Mr. Motown is going to take his grandfather's mid-century vehicle-based tech and bring it into a modern era.
He's going to have a Waymo instead, is what you're telling me.
Yeah. He's going to, yeah, you're right. He's going to get around by using Lyft coupons.
The defeat in your voice wasn't what I expected, and I'm sorry. I think this is great. I love the angle of like the old Mr. Motor City and the new Mr. Motown, like passing the torch. It's good stuff. Andrew, tell us about The Fog.
So Carl Martin was born into modest means in San Francisco, California, to Jonathan and Darlene Martin. His father, Jonathan, was a struggling web developer, and his mother, Darlene, was a stay-at-home mom. Family had a small rent-controlled apartment off of Ellis Street, right off of the Powell-Hyde cable car line. Now, each day, Darlene would walk Carl up and down the streets of the Tenderloin while his father toiled away at his code. On Carl's 8th birthday, his father came home with incredible news. His .com had been purchased by a major media conglomerate, and they would finally be able to afford that big, beautiful house of Darlene's dreams out in San Mateo. Unfortunately, 6 months later, Carl and his parents started packing up their modest apartment and prepared for their big adventure down to Silicon Valley. Except they would never make it to San Mateo. You guys may be reading ahead a little bit, but you can guess what happened next. While picking up their U-Haul, that's right, a rogue cable car had somehow gotten decoupled from the tracks and hit Carl and his family, killing his parents instantly.
Oh, no!
Jesus.
To shreds, you say?
To shreds. Carl woke up in a pediatric intensive care unit and learned he had just been orphaned. Further, after realizing he was now an orphan, he noticed his skin started becoming translucent, like he could see right through it. As it turns out, not only did that cable car murder his family, but it was also radioactive. And in the preceding months, Carl's body began to phase in and out of reality altogether. You know, like that one character from the Thunderbolts. So Carl harnessed his newfound powers as he grew up in the foster system. And as he got older, he got himself into constant trouble from fighting over with other neighborhood boys. Carl was eventually taken in by a tough but fair martial arts master named Russell Cressida, who owned a studio in Japantown. Taught Carl the finer points of hand-to-hand combat and using violence to protect people and to do good and all of that. Years later, Carl retained a close relationship with Russell, who had become sort of a father figure to him. Russell also happened to be an early adopter of Bitcoin and convinced Carl to invest his .com trust fund into Bitcoin in around 2017. And yes, you may be reading ahead. Carl obviously became a gajillionaire by 2019.
To the moon, they say.
To the moon. Carl Carl and Russell both went to the moon. So at present, Carl Martin lives a very public life as an early adopter of Web 3.0 and a part-time VC investor who lives in a lavish multi-million-dollar home on Vallejo Street in Pacific Heights, over right there at the top of the hill overlooking the wharf. But at night, Carl lives a very different life. Far from the yacht all hands and micro-dosing fundraisers, Carl
Micro-dursting?
Micro-dursting. Yeah!
That's when you have just a little bit of Limp Bizkit as a
A little bit of Limp Bizkit takes the edge off.
I love micro-durst. That rules. So Carl spends his nights as a vigilante, patrolling the darkened streets of his beloved San Francisco. Known only as the Fog, his name is traveled across those who are most vulnerable. The poor and the sick and the unhoused. Just like the early morning San Francisco sky, the fog rolls in and protects those who can't protect themselves.
Yeah.
This is also great. I like the Bruce Wayne to Matt's
I did a Batman.
Daredevil type history. Very cool.
Thanks. I should note that for people who don't know San Francisco lore, the fog that comes in every morning, its name is Carl. Carl the Fog.
Oh,
That's like a
really?
thing. Yeah, that's like a thing.
So like you'd be like Carl's real bad today or something.
Carl's real upset today.
Gotcha.
Huh. Interesting.
Why is he able to turn translucent?
Because the cable car that killed his mother and father was radioactive.
Radioactive.
Oh, of course.
He got hit by a
radioactive cable.
Yeah.
car. Okay.
Well, duh, Kyle.
Yeah.
Clearly. Okay. I must have missed it. I must have
He got
zoned
bit
out
by the
for a
radioactive cable car that killed his parents.
It's like if when the Joker shot Thomas and Martha Wayne, that bullet also turned Batman into Batman.
second. Yeah. Exactly.
I like to think that if, with no pretense whatsoever, you're like, hey, I have a superhero that has train car powers. Two guesses how they got it. One of them would be, well, did a radioactive train car bite them?
Ding, ding, ding.
Got it. Let's check.
Yeah.
Got it. Get it in one.
Well, it's like Daredevil didn't get bit by a radioactive devil.
No, he got radioactive
but-
goo in his eyes.
Yeah.
He got
Yeah.
radioactive goo in his eyes.
Got
So
radioactive
And then
goo in
that
his
goo
eyes.
made turtles into the Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
Yeah, canonically. He did the thing that all of our college science labs had eye wash stations around to prevent.
Yeah.
Right.
Daredevil came out and then they installed all those eye wash stations in every high school.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
they
happened.
passed the Daredevil Act. You're right.
Yeah. Todd, tell us
Yeah.
about the origin of Captain Lightning.
Yeah, so Captain Lightning, aka Leonard Sloman, mild
That's
mannered.
not a real name.
No, it's not. A mild mannered electrical worker by day, crime fighter by night. Did not choose this fate, but was called to it, like most heroes are. Leonard was preparing to board the local community tram, which I promise wasn't radioactive and didn't bite him. The local community tram through Ybor City to head home one night when the trolley car was struck by lightning, causing it to lose control and pick up speed as it sped towards the Bayside orphanage. He sprung to action and threw himself in the tram's way to push just a whole mess of orphans off the tracks. And just as that tram was about to strike Leonard, the rails he landed on, and the trolley that was about to hit him all were struck by lightning, which is not that wild, what with Tampa being the lightning capital of North America. So this all resulted in his new lightning-themed powers that make him durable as a train car and quick as lightning. to the point that he can't be seen while he's in motion. Which all this fits perfectly in Tampa because his powers of electricity allow him to move seamlessly along the city's public transit lines and their quaint little walkable neighborhood communities, while also being able to zap through power lines and more of the downtown high-rise business area. And of course, he's also able to zip-zap across the water during the storms that hit Tampa Bay because they get a lot of storms.
can he turn into lightning?
When he moves, he is lightning. Yes.
Oh, I thought he was
Okay.
just super fast. So he turns
Well,
into lightning.
Yes. To both. Yes, to both.
Is he Static Shock?
I feel like you need to make a decision.
Yes to both to Andrew. Legally distinct. No to
Okay,
Matt.
cool, got it.
Yeah.
Continue, I guess.
Yeah, the city he loves knows when he's called into action because though they can't see him because he moves so fast that he may or may not be lightning when he moves, we're not entirely positive yet.
Oh yeah, he's like Kel Mitchell's Invisible Boy. He can't. You don't know he's invisible because you can't look at him.
I don't.
Such a good pull.
That's the comparison I don't like. I like the other things we've done, but I don't agree with that one. The power flickers and surges when to announce his arrival and his departure as he keeps the city safe from those ne'er-do-wells looking to cause harm or besmirch the good name of Tampa, Florida. There were a lot of lightning strikes all at once. It gave him his powers.
Lightning strikes. Man. I want to focus in on anyone who's besmirching the good name of Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
Yeah.
Does he not believe in free speech, Todd?
Do we need to re-listen to the opening of this podcast? Because a lot of Florida hate up at the top.
Yeah.
Technically, he would be coming in through my microphone, I guess, if that's his powers.
If he moves like lightning, yes. I haven't talked to him to know.
Okay.
Don't talk shit about Tampa, Florida, I guess. I don't know.
Don't talk shit about Tampa, Florida.
I do love that you're taking the city's protector to the most literal form.
Yeah.
Like more of a
Anybody in
propaganda
Tampa,
machine.
Florida would.
Yeah.
Right.
Does he avoid the hospital to not disrupt life-saving equipment when he goes full
for sure.
lightning?
Well, and I mean, it's just flickers, and hospitals have internal generators, so they're fine.
Does he have to stay away from airplanes? Otherwise, he would crash them.
Well, he can't fly, so
He moves like lightning.
yeah, but he doesn't fly. Lightning doesn't fly, Andrew.
That would be ridiculous.
Yeah, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It definitely transfers in a straight line from one point to another, but I guess that's not flying.
Not 10 minutes ago, we were talking about being bitten by a radioactive tram car, and
I feel like my argument was ironclad. No further questions came from it.
I think we can all agree all arguments today are scientifically sound, and we don't need to look into the science at all for our superhero origins.
I feel like, if anything, I got away with, and 3 different lightning strikes happened at the exact same moment, because lightning strikes a lot in Tampa. That hand wave got by pretty quickly.
Kind of did.
I buy it. Whatever. Why not?
The standing rules. We go with it.
We go with it. All right. We got three heroes. The avatar of their city, the city's protectorate. But a hero is nothing without their villain, their foil, their opposite, their dark reflection. So tell me, guys, who is your hero's main villain, and how are they tied together in an eternal struggle of good versus evil? To throw out some examples for you here, I've got the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, tied to Peter Parker, both as the creator of the radioactive spider that bit him, the father of his best friend, and, the living embodiment of greed and blind ambition that is associated with New York City's elite. So, Matt, kick us off. Tell us about Mr. Motown's villain.
Yeah, Kyle. So earlier I said that Detroit is famous for 3 things. It's actually famous for 4 things. That 4th thing is that it burned down once. In 1805, Detroit burned from being an entirely wooden city to not being a city at all. That's right. Detroit was an entire city built of wood, and then it burned to the ground. And that has led to a history of bad villains trying to burn Detroit to the ground. Somebody's always trying to burn Detroit to the ground. Why? Well, some villains have different reasons. Some villains want revenge on whatever happened to them in Detroit. Some villains believe that if you burn Detroit to the ground, an ancient being of untold power will be released from underneath the ashes of the original wooden city that were burned down to lock it away at the beginning of time, and others just want to watch the world burn. Now, there is one consistent villain, generation after generation, a mantle passed down the same way that the mantle of Mr. Motor City, Mr. Motown, has been passed down to Coleman Ford. And that is that to have labor relations, you always got to have somebody willing to cross the picket line. And the scab has returned here in the year of our comic book 2025. And Mr. Motown is going to rally the people together because the scab, he's a bad one. What he'll do is he'll get inside of all the people you know and love, and he'll corrupt their ideas and corrupt their minds and change their opinions about you and convince them that, no, unions are bad, actually. And people shouldn't band together against their employers. Employers take care of their employees naturally. It's a very 2025. The scab is sponsored by LinkedIn. It's a very 2025 villain.
Sure.
And Mr. Motown is going to beat him out of the Motor City.
This has the same energy as the Spider-Man comic book that we all got in elementary school that it was about smoking.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Kind of similar energy.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, is the scab a similarly like non-powered person that uses like tech and subterfuge to do his super villainry, or does the scab have powers of some kind?
Well, the scab's powers are that the scab is also bankrolled by a mysterious, shady source. But as scabs always are, scabs only scab because they get paid. So it's another non-powered individual, but with the access to unfettered technology and subterfuge by a blank check from a shadowy, I would hate to call them a pack, but maybe something like that. And yeah, that's
A
the
special
scab's whole
interest
thing.
group. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Motown is going to defeat him with the power of labor relations and also
And class consciousness.
well, a newfound love of Detroit's musical history to help rally its people together. Because if you couldn't guess, Frank Ford's old ass was not a huge fan of Motown music, but that's this new generation of Mr.
Unsurprising.
Motown. That's why it's not Mr. Motor City anymore. When I read today
Gotcha.
that it was like Detroit got its nickname Motown from, and I was like, the music, obviously, and it was like Motor City, and I was like, that's right.
Yeah.
There's a different history here, and that's the one we're telling.
Yeah.
With the Mr. Motown comic.
All right. I like that a lot.
Educational.
Yeah. I learned something. I like the scab as a concept of a villain. Very good. Andrew, let's roll right along.
Sure.
Who's the fog going up against?
Well, Fogg began to notice that an inordinate amount of unhoused people were being berated and bullied. Now, not just by local thugs, but also by the local police force, even more so than usual.
Well,
Following
you
a
said
trail
local thugs, yeah.
I said what I said. You got your like capital T thugs and then just generalized thugs. There's the like get to bed, like that kind of thug, and then like who we all know as thugs. So, following a trail of leads, Carl learns of a mysterious benefactor known only as Angel, who some more loose-lipped goons were willing to disclose is enacting a plan to clean the streets of SF for good. Now, separately, Carl Martin has been helping Russell evaluate an investment, Russell being his father figure and mentor. He was helping him evaluate an investment and noticed that Russell was using a lot of language like take back the city and bring in real San Franciscans. Ew. Now, originally, this kind of read like a railing against gentrification, but then it started turning a little sinister, and Carl was like, okay, I gotta go. So after following a trail of leads, Carl, as the Fog, comes across a makeshift base of operations for the nameless goons that work under Angel. And it was out there in an abandoned warehouse in the dog patch that Carl was horrified to discover the true identity of Angel, his trainer, mentor, and pseudo-father, Russell Cressidia himself. Russell's true intentions were to completely cleanse San Francisco of the undeserving, and that meaning anyone to him who isn't a multi-million tech billionaire with infinite time and money to better themselves. So Carl was able to fight off the henchmen, but could not stack up against Russell, the man who taught him everything. And in their thrilling 1v1, Russell unmasks the Fog and the two duke it out. Russell, who wants to realize his vision of taking over San Francisco with millionaires, and Carl, who wants to defend the rights of people who already live here day in, day out from being displaced by said millionaires. And this is their ever long struggle. Angel, aka Russell Cressidia, as the thing that Carl hates about himself.
All right. I like that. The Angel is a very good, like...
the Angel Investor,
very good call to that, and like just a good like ominous villain that you don't see for the first like half of a season.
It was very like Ra's al Ghul coded.
Yeah. I like it. Very cool. Very cool. Todd, tell us about Captain Lightning's main villain.
Yeah, a speedster needs their foil, and what better foil for a Florida-based speedster than a villain with the power of cold? This one is not going to be a big surprise here. That one, we'll talk about on post-show, came from just around the corner. Saw that one. Let me introduce you to the Snowbird. So
that's really good.
That's really good.
Now, okay, you may hear that name and be unimpressed, but ask anyone who lives in a coastal southern state and they'll tell you the worst thing to happen each year is the flock of terrible people from Ohio who just show up. They just show up. And so the Snowbird hails from the foreign land of Hunting Valley, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cleveland, the most expensive suburb of Cleveland. And he represents the antithesis of what Tampa stands for, the warm summer days, the accessible transit, walkable neighborhoods. Bah, says the Snowbird. He hates those things. He hates those things as he cruises through the city in his loud, smelly, gas-guzzling SUV for 3 to 4 months of the year. He doesn't yield to pedestrians. He thinks there should be more parking lots. He has deeply tanned skin, representative of his deep distrust for whatever is in sunscreen. We don't know, he says. How do you know what's in that? His goal is simple. Using his cold powers, he wants to make Tampa more like his beloved gate community by trying to close down each and every microbrewery and non-American food establishment he can because he thinks they are, quote, scary and, quote, too loud. And those are the things he's trying to take from us.
Okay, that's really good.
That is really good. The Snowbirds are really good. Just
you get
really
the visual image. You got it.
Yeah. This was really great, everyone. We're going to take a quick break and come back and answer our super secret bonus question, which is a DT classic as far as bonus questions go. Cast your hero and villain. If we were making a movie out of this idea, cast your hero and villain. But if you can, make it someone from the city or general area that you set this in. And I'm throwing out a second, we'll call it a mini super secret bonus question that actually was super secret because I thought of it while we were recording. I want like a catchphrase that your hero says when they stop the bad guy, or something. Just I want a catchphrase for when they do the thing. We'll get those when we come back from this break. All right, we are back. Gentlemen, cast your hero and villain, preferably with 2 people from the city that you chose, or at least the general area. Matt, kick us off. Oh, and a catchphrase.
Happy to give you a casting, happy to give you a catchphrase as well. And I tell you what, I'm going to give you a third bonus casting because I've introduced Mr. Motor City and Mr. Motown. And if we're doing a movie, we got to have them both. You can't have one without the other. So 2 incredibly prolific Detroit born and raised actors are going to take up the mantles of Mr. Motor City and Mr. Motown, playing the grizzled, retired, mid-century superhero, none other than Detroit's own Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck is Mr. Motor City.
That's good.
And coming in to play his grandson, Mr. Motown, known best as playing the role Zach Taylor in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's Walter Emmanuel Jones. Walter Emmanuel Jones is Mr. Motown.
Good.
Okay.
And then we've got to have our bad guy. We need the scab. And who better to play the scab than Detroit's own Tim Robinson? Tim Robinson of I Think You Should Leave fame will portray the scab.
I like that.
Excellent. Fantastic.
And your catchphrase, every issue of Mr. Motown is going to start with like the same frame. It's going to be Mr. Motown, Coleman Ford, overlooking whatever problem he's come across or whatever warning has popped up on his screen. And he's going to start by saying his famous catchphrase, Motown, Mo problems. And then when he solves the problem in every issue, he's going to say, Mo problem, no problems. And that's the end. That's the catchphrase.
Good. Kind of doing like an Invincible thing where like you get that Invincible splash page set up by the like opening scene. We're going to get a Motown, Mo problems.
Yep.
Okay. I like it. I'm into it. Andrew.
Sure. So I've got two specifically San Francisco born and raised actors. So not just the Bay Area, but San Francisco proper. So Carl Martin, a.k.a. The Fog, is going to be played by, I wanted to find somebody who, grew up was young in the dot-com burst and obviously like grew up in tech. So I picked Darren Criss, who you may remember from Glee.
Yeah.
And
Tony
also
Award
a lot of
winner,
other things that he's been in.
Tony
more
Award
recently.
winner Darren Criss.
Yeah, Tony Award winner Darren Criss. And then his mentor and pseudo father figure, Russell, will be played by Mahershala Ali.
That's cool.
Because it's time to get him into a superhero movie.
Because Blade clearly isn't going anywhere.
Blade's
so let's
not
get
happening,
him something. Get him somewhere else.
Apparently Blade is happening again, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Apparently.
That's the new news. Blade is happening.
Yeah.
Also, he
Yeah.
was in Luke Cage, but that's neither here nor there.
We
By
need
the
to get
time
him
we
in
edit this and
something.
put it out, Matt might have to put an errata in what he just said. But yeah,
Fair point, yeah.
What is he in Luke Cage?
Cottonmouth?
He is the
Diamondback.
Cottonmouth, the bad guy. No, Cotton.
Oh, I
In
was
the
literally
first
just going to say,
season.
like, I feel like I need to see him as a bad guy. I think he'd be really good.
does a good job.
Phenomenal
cool.
villain.
He's good in that.
Okay.
First season of Luke Cage, biggest sleeper hit of the Netflix
Yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah, you
I'd
said
say
that.
so.
I don't know. First season of Jessica Jones was really
Matt
good.
hates the first season of
No,
Jessica
sleeper
Jones.
hit. Like I'm talking
gotcha.
under
Underrated. Yeah.
Underrated is the word.
Luke Cage as a whole was like it was just kind of came and went.
Yeah. Andrew, do you have a catchphrase?
Yes.
For us?
When the fog rolls in, crime burns off.
Ooh, that's
Good.
good. That's really good. All right, Todd, cast Captain Lightning.
So let's start with the Snowbird. So
Okay.
original inspiration was Arnold Schwarzenegger for obvious reasons,
Okay.
especially because he's like 30 years older than he was when he played Mr. Freeze. He's older. He's more crotchety. Would be a lot of fun. But he's not from Cleveland. Not from Cleveland, and I want to get someone or from Florida.
I really want to see Arnold Schwarzenegger do this role doing like an American accent the whole time,
man.
too.
Yeah.
He's got the Cleveland A whenever
Yeah.
he says anything.
Yeah.
So in light of that, my person playing the Snowbird will be an older, aged up or just makeup style, just crotchety in general, Drew Carey. Because no one's more into Cleveland than Drew Carey.
Drew Carey's also a really good pick for that.
Okay.
And I feel like if Drew Carey is like crotchety and rolling around as a villain, that's a lot of fun.
Especially like post-Ozempic Drew Carey.
Absolutely.
Really fits that role.
The skin is just saggy and cannot keep up in Boys at Tan. So for Leonard Sloman, a.k.a. Captain Lightning, got to be someone who is a Tampa native. And as I said, he moves so quick you can't see him. So since he's impossible to see, it has to be Jonathan Cena, a man who is actually from Tampa. So
Wow.
Jonathan Cena will be our Captain Lightning because you can't see him. You can't see him.
Can't see him.
And
He's
his
what did
quote-
you say? He's as immovable as a train or something?
Yeah, he's got the physics of a tram car.
Yeah.
And his tagline, specifically while fighting the Snowbird, will be paying homage to Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, because he'll say, "Stay cool, bird boy," because that's a line that Mr. Freeze says in
sure
Batman.
is.
And that felt right.
It sure is. Fantastic. Excellent work, all three of you. I said at the top, we don't have a conceit for this show that we're pitching anything. So give me some closing statements. Put a nice little bow on your comic book story for me today. Matt.
Yeah, Kyle, Detroit is a very cool city. It's got a ton of history, and it is one of the oldest, most incredible cities in the United States. It's also one that has faced economic decline in a way most cities in this country have never and will never experience. And that is a story that more people need to hear, and that is a story that we can tell with Mr. Motown.
Great.
We are Detroit.
San Francisco is easy to dunk on. It's really expensive. It's idyllic. It's full of dickhead tech bro millionaires. But
Really selling it.
But under all that are actually people who live there and actually people who love the city that they are from. It is a living, breathing group of people, buildings and what did you say? Buildings and people and, day-to-day lives that are being led.
Yeah.
So why not have West Coast Batman?
Why not have West Coast Batman? Not enough people are asking that. Thank you.
Only the real hero questions.
Todd.
So, Kyle, the people that live in major cities in Florida need a win. Come on.
Come on.
Those blue pockets of Florida really need something right now.
I've never been so sincere in my life. Tampa needs this.
He's not wrong.
Please pick me to win because Tampa is hurting.
You kept saying you need this, you need this, you need this.
All right. Very, very good answers from everybody. Let's do some good vibes. I'll pick a winner here after we get the vibes up with some good vibes. Matt.
Yeah. Andrew, I think the Fog is awesome. I really like the Fog. I really like old era superheroes, that have that radio drama aspect to them, and that's kind of what the Fog is. The Fog reminds me of the Green Hornet in a lot of ways, and I think that's
100%.
Cool.
Yes.
That's the vibe.
The spirit is what I
The spirit was like my template.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Everything I know about San Francisco, I learned from Full House, and definitely not Fuller House. And I think that having a superhero whose tragic backstory is the .com boom is something. I don't know that I like it, but it's something, and it's daring of you to say it. So
It's just the modern version of a superhero whose origin story is the collapse of the motor industry. So
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I don't like that you said
they are two
that.
halves. They are two sides of the same.
They are two
coin
sides
that
of the
is
same coin.
capitalism.
Yeah, very true. Todd, I Googled John Cena because I wanted to know if his real first name was Jonathan, and Google told me he's from West Newbury, Massachusetts. So,
Well, the internet says a lot of things.
I'm not
Matt.
one to believe the internet, and I'm gonna choose to believe you because I like that you did Static Shock, but in Florida, and I legitimately had no idea why the Tampa Bay Lightning were called the Lightning. I've watched hockey for 20 years. I had no idea why they were called the Lightning, and I know that now. And thank you for teaching me that.
I did go and check. It says he lives in Tampa, Florida. So put an asterisk on that. That is his hometown.
From is a very loose
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, like
anyway.
Three of us are from Columbus, and none of us were born here. So
Right,
that's fine.
I'll give you that. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Matt, I really like Mr. Motown, both as a name and I liked all the elements that you built. That was super fun. The gritty Watchmen style of what if everything was the same, but we had a propaganda superhero propping up the Union is awesome. That kicks ass, dude.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that fucking rules. Todd, I'm leaving this episode. I am wanting more. And I'm leaving this episode because I need to understand what makes Tampa so cool. I believe you. I do. I just Now I'm curious. You've piqued my curiosity
Andrew is
about the city
leaving.
of Tampa.
He's leaving this episode to go down
Yes.
to Tampa and stay there until he figures it out.
I wouldn't commit to doing that, but yeah, it is
really
cool.
selling it. like a cool weekend hang. Mm-hmm. There's a Top Golf there, I assume.
Probably a Top Golf.
Gotta be a Top
can't-
Golf.
Not gonna. Maybe we'll talk about it at the post show. Gasparilla does look awesome.
Gasparilla does look awesome.
A
You mentioned
weekend of people as dressed up as pirates getting drunk watching boats in the bay.
I do feel like we unfairly glazed past Gasparilla because you link that in the notes, and like that does look awesome.
Yeah, you gonna go be a pirate for a weekend and watch ships in the bay? Yeah, man.
Absolutely would.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, Mr. Motown's really good. I learned a bit about Detroit. I love Detroit. I've only been there a couple of times, and every time we're there, we're like, oh, this is rad. And having been to the Ford Museum, I can tell you what he probably thought about unions. So, yeah, man. Cool museum, but like, you get it.
Largest indoor-outdoor museum or second largest indoor-outdoor museum complex in the United States.
I believe that it is very, very big. The inside of it has an old-fashioned silver diner car that has the diner inside of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a Russian nesting doll of old diner food that's overpriced.
Sure.
Andrew, the fog is awesome. I'm glad that we've already said the Green Hornet was what I kind of thought as well. Like this old timey like force that shows up when that is needed. I did look and see Batman has partnered with the West Coast Avengers.
Yeah, I see this. Interesting.
Batman has partnered with the West Coast Avengers.
I put it in an episode of DC's The Brave and the Bold. It's linked in the show notes that you can get access to by subscribing to the $10 tier at the Patreon.
Wow.
Yep. Batman and the
crazy.
West Coast Avengers, which is certifiable proof that the West Coast Avengers do not have a Batman. So they are in need of one. So this is great.
Wow.
I can't blow this picture up enough to like see, but
Yeah,
those
we've definitely got
are-
an Iron Man, a Hawkeye, a Wonder Man, a Tigra. I don't know what the Tiger Woman is in Marvel. And
Is
then
that Cheetah from the Wonder Woman movie?
Cheetah's DC.
Oh.
Who is the person to the far right? That person, Songbird, Canary.
with the like Super Saiyan scanner and
I think it's
weird
I think
batons?
it's Songbird. Songbird
Okay.
was like the partner of Hawkeye.
Yeah.
okay.
Played by Adrienne Palicki in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
All right. Well, I have to pick a winner, and that sucks because these are all really good answers, and I want to make sure I acknowledge that like I have to pick a winner, and otherwise wouldn't, because again, I like all of these. So I think off the bat, I think we're gonna. I'm sorry, Andrew. We're gonna knock the fog out just for what you said, kind of up front. We get a lot of San Francisco. We've seen the bridge
get a lot of San
destroyed a
Francisco.
lot. That is nothing against what you've done today. Just like we got two other cities that aren't nearly as well represented as San Francisco, which then takes me to, I think I got to go with Mr. Motor City, Mr. Motown as our winner today. I'm sorry.
That makes
Todd.
sense.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I like Captain Lightning. I like Snowbird. I think Snowbird was probably my favorite villain that we got today. But I asked for one hero, and Matt brought me two. And I like
Matt cheated.
I like Detroit. Well, Matt cheated.
Honestly, Florida's just happy with a silver trophy.
Okay,
They'll
good.
take that.
They'll
Yeah.
take it.
And San Francisco will work with Marvel to get a West Coast Batman.
Yeah, we'll get a West Coast Batman and get that bridge rebuilt again.
for a 15th time.
For a 15th time. Otherwise, that is going to do it for today on Debate This. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you want to support Debate This, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/debatethiscast, where for the price of $5 a month, you can get access to our monthly Patreon exclusive show, Deconstructed, where we watch a DCOM Disney Channel original movie once a month and then talk about it. You also get all backlogged episodes of our D&D show, The Office Drones. You can also support us if you happen to be in Pittsburgh in July, specifically on July 19th. we will be doing a live show at the Tekko Pittsburgh conference.
Yeah, it's an anime con. Yeah, Tekko
Pittsburgh Anime Con, July 19th, 5:30 p.m. in Panel 4. Todd, Matt, and Andrew will be doing a live episode of our podcast. I will not be there because I just traveled to Atlanta, and
boy, are his arms tired.
Boy, are my arms tired.
got him.
Until next time, I have been Kyle Harper.
I'm Matt, something, Detroit Rock City. Cole.
I'm Andrew. Every superhero origin story is a Stephen King novel with the right context. Henderson.
And I'm Todd. Come see our river that catches on fire. Thomas.
And we're saying thanks for debating with us. And if you think we're wrong, you can come fight us behind the swing sets, nerds.